With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Our top stories.
Tributes pour in to honor the life of Lady Sheila Daniel, wife of national hero Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel.
Energy Minister says government still committed to 2030 100% renewable energy goal. Government officials continue education campaign on new BBW initiative.
Winsong Foundation enhances education in Nevis with a school furniture donation.
Guyana seeks more international help to fight drug trade. Royal Grenada Police Force ramps up border security in response to Trinidad and Tobago's state of emergency. Internationally, U.S. Prosecutor Jack Smith defends a criminal case against President-elect Donald Trump. Now, the details.
There are times when God blesses us with someone so exceptional in talent and temperament that whenever we encounter that person, we must stop and thank God for his kindness in sharing such a person with this world. To have known Lady Sheila Daniel is to have known an exceptional woman in whom the best human elements were so well combined that she radiated warmth, class, empathy, and love effortlessly. She was an exceptional human being, said Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, as he honored the life of the departed. The Premier shared fond memories of Lady Daniel, describing her motherly love, sound advice, and musical skills. Quote, Lady Sheila was a mother to me, and I as a son to her. I loved her, and she loved me. We spoke for the new year, but I missed hearing from her for my birthday. I now know that I shall never hear her beautiful voice again, listen to her play the piano or organ at church, or hear her admonitions and advice. But I shall forever love and cherish her for all that she was and all that she contributed to her family and our beloved Nevis. Unquote. Lady Sheila Daniel was the wife of the fourth national hero of St. Kitts and Nevis, Sir Simeon Daniel, a woman many had known through her husband or personal interactions with her. The Bank of Nevis paid homage to Lady Daniel as the financial institution is closely connected to her. She is the wife of the bank's founder and the mother of Mr. Adrian Daniel, a member of the Bank of Nevis Board of Directors. Quote, we fondly remember her invaluable support and presence during significant moments in our journey. Notably, in 2021, she graciously joined us for the symbolic ribbon-cutting ceremony at the opening of our 2 branches in St. Kitts, leaving a lasting impression with her warmth and elegance. Her legacy of grace, strength, and unwavering support will forever remain an integral part of our story, the bank stated. The Nevis Reformation Party also honored Lady Daniel's life, acknowledging that she played a significant role in her husband's legacy. Quote, we extend our deepest condolences to her family and loved ones during this time of loss. Lady Daniel was the devoted wife of the late Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel, the first leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, the first Premier of Nevis, and a national hero of St. Kitts and Nevis. Her strength, grace, and support for Sir Dr. Daniel played a significant role in his enduring legacy. As we honor her memory, we pray for comfort and strength for all who mourn her passing. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Unquote. Lady Daniel contributed several years of service to the Philatelic Bureau in Nevis. She is also remembered as a devoted Anglican who served as the organist for the St. Thomas's Anglican Church and supported many other church activities. She is popularly known as a soft-spoken woman with the ability to command the respect of all of whom she communicates.
The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has been working tirelessly over the past year to address the issue of illegal weapons and ammunition on the streets, achieving notable progress. To date, the police have confiscated a total of 18 firearms and more than 300 rounds of ammunition. During a routine search of an abandoned building on East Street, Newtown over the weekend, officers discovered a Glock 19 handgun with an extended clip containing 14 rounds of ammunition. This discovery has reignited concerns about how such weapons continue to make their way onto the streets of St. Kitts and Nevis. Among the firearms seized last year was an AK-47, highlighting the scale of the challenge. When questioned during a press conference last year about the potential role of customs and ports in the smuggling of firearms, Commissioner of Police James Sutton stated,
with regards to customs are responsible for the borders. The customs do random searches because of the bulk and the turnaround time for economic development. So when you are doing random searches, the possibility exists that you may overlook things. So by doing that, Customs, that's why I said I'm impressing about customs maybe to improve in some way, but they only can do as much with the limitations that they have. The government is coming on board to assist the Customs Department with certain tools that would make them more proficient in the search of these items.
Problem of illegal firearms remains a pressing concern for the Federation. More than 80% of the homicides recorded last year were committed using firearms. In 2024, the Federation reported 28 homicides, a slight decrease compared to the previous year. Up to news time, the police force did not respond to how many of these weapons were linked to criminal activities or homicides.
St. Kitts and Nevis is undergoing significant developments in its energy sector, highlighted by Minister of Public Infrastructure, Energy and Utilities Conrus Maynard's presentation during the 2025 budget debates. Minister Maynard articulated the government's commitment to achieving 100% renewable energy by 2030, condemned the politicization of the energy situation, and underscored the necessity of a gradual transition to renewable energy. He shared a poignant analogy about the mayor of a remote island, illustrating the pitfalls of prioritizing solar energy without maintaining the necessary traditional power generation capacity. Minister Maynard emphasized that the previous Harris-led administration's decision to abandon upgrades to the Newscast plant in favor of solar solutions was misguided, leading to a precarious energy situation where aging generators are insufficient to meet demand.
Here is the problem with that. The solar energy project relies on full sunlight all day to get maximum results where the system can provide, let's say, about 12 megawatts of the same 28 I was talking about of fixed power for a maximum of 14 hours out of the day. If and only if we had a full sunny day, one rainy day, a cloudy day, your energy production numbers would be much, much lower. Therefore, when the solar energy system shuts off, says at 8 p.m., after the batteries run out, you have to go back to your generators. Well, if they're not in order, if one is out of service or one is on its dying bed, then you will have poor and spotty power from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. in the morning. The advantage of transition to solar energy is not necessarily all about immediately getting rid of your generators, but rather to save on the cost of fuel to run the generators. As the real cost of using generators is not the generator itself, but the high and fluctuating cost of fuel.
The minister elaborated on the current challenges faced by Skellig, pointing out that the utilities generators are reaching the end of their useful lives, with some units being 40 years old. St. Kitts' energy demand peak at approximately 28 megawatts. However, the available capacity has remained stagnant, putting the grid at risk. Maynard urged substantial investments in new fixed capacity generators to ensure consistent power, particularly during maintenance periods. Minister Maynard positioned the current administration as proactive in rectifying these oversights by pursuing upgrades to the Newscast power plant, highlighting recent agreements for new dual-fuel generators. Furthermore, the minister announced a significant partnership with the Saudi Fund for Development, securing a $40 million arrangement to purchase an 18-megawatt power plant and utility-side battery storage. The investment is essential for integrating renewable energy sources to the grid, mitigating the dependency on generators for nighttime and overcast conditions.
Earlier this year, we signed an agreement with the Saudi Fund for Development for a US $40 million funding arrangement for the procurement and installation of the new 18-megawatt plant. And the utility-side battery storage, the $40 million includes the generators and utility-side battery storage, in anticipation of the distributed renewable energy being placed on the grid that we will launch in the new year. It is important to note that of all the financing mechanisms that we looked at, this option was the most affordable, as it has a 3-year holiday for repayment and the lowest interest rate on the market.
Minister Maynard assured the public that the government remains committed to delivering reliable energy solutions while fostering local economic opportunities.
We have a commitment from the Republic of China and Taiwan to the construction of at least a 50-megawatt solar PV battery energy storage farm right here in St. Kitts. We are now in the final discussions to secure a timeline of this critical project. In addition, Skelec is now in a position to properly consider the many viable options that have been laying in wait.
With additional short-term measures, such as renting a 6-megawatt temporary power plant, the minister urgently addressed the current electricity supply challenges while ensuring that long-term sustainable energy goals remain on course. The St. Kitts and Nevis government reaffirmed its collaboration with the local digital service provider JAD to implement the Budget Boost Wallet BBW initiative, which aims to alleviate the financial pressures caused by global inflation. Cabinet Secretary Dr. Marcus Natta and Permanent Secretary of Social Development Azilla Clark recently appeared on state media and articulated JAD's essential role in securing cashless transactions for eligible beneficiaries. The BBW initiative will provide financial support to qualifying individuals over 6 months, targeting fundamental needs such as food, utilities, and housing. Dr. Natta explained that this temporary program will benefit those earning less than EC $5,000 a month, with each participant receiving EC $250 monthly. The primary intention is to help households cope with rising costs of key necessities, as outlined during the Prime Minister's budget address in December.
And after outlining that, he shared some initiatives, and one of the initiatives to help to alleviate or reduce the burden on households especially was this Budget Boost Wallet initiative. It's a temporary initiative. It's a short-term program for 6 months from January to this year to June of this year, 6 months.
Permanent Secretary Clark further clarified that eligible participants include employed individuals earning below the threshold and unemployed individuals, while emphasizing that pensioners are currently excluded from the program. Permanent Secretary Clark explained why.
Unfortunately, pensioners of any kind do not qualify at this time. And that's either government pension or social security pension, because they are a priority population for the LIFT benefit. So they are prioritized for seniors earning 0 to minimum pension. It's a particular priority group. So within seniors as a whole, that's an even more priority group that gets through. So if they know of a senior citizen who is on minimum to 0 pension and is looking forward to this, they can call our offices, and they will liaise with the Ministry of Aging and Disabilities to get to them so that we can have the information for the LIFT program.
The partnership with JAD is lauded for providing a reliable platform that ensures beneficiaries have user-friendly access to the funds.
And JAD has been around for a long time. And they're a locally owned company. A local person owns it, and they provide a lot of digital and services and so forth. Persons buy tickets for fets and stuff from JAD all the time.
Clark added that the BBW initiative will be implemented with stringent eligibility checks to prevent misuse, ensuring that the benefits are directed toward individuals who genuinely need assistance. The initiative represents a significant step by the St. Kitts and Nevis government to support its citizens during a challenging economic period, while fostering a cashless economy that can adapt to future needs. The funds can be used for essential expenses such as groceries and household goods, excluding alcohol, tobacco, and cosmetics. They can be used for utilities like Skelec, Nevlec, and at the Water Services Department. Mortgage payments to the National Housing Corporation and the Nevis Housing and Land Department are also acceptable. Eligibility criteria: you must be residents of St. Kitts and Nevis, earning $5,000 or less, have a valid Social Security ID, and have made at least one Social Security contribution week since January 2024, or be unemployed. Students receiving stipends are excluded. Individuals familiar with earlier government assistance programs will have their BBW wallets automatically activated. JAD will email those government assistance program users with instructions. Individuals are encouraged to update their profiles and alert Social Development and Gender Affairs with any changes to address, phone number, etc. New users can register on the website, which also provides details of eligibility information and more. Payments will commence before the end of January 2025, and registration will be open until 11:59 p.m. the day before payments are scheduled. Late registrations do not receive retroactive payments. Citizens should ensure their contact details are current to avoid payment disruptions.
The WINN Foundation generously donated new school furniture to the Ministry of Education, Nevis. The Ministry of Education stated, quote, "We are grateful to the WINN Foundation for this gift, which will no doubt benefit our students. Thank you, WINN Foundation, for your continued investment in the development of education on Nevis," unquote. The suite of furniture includes 995 desks and 845 chairs. The Charlestown Secondary School was a major beneficiary of this outstanding gesture. The school expressed pleasure to the WINN Foundation for its contribution to the educational needs of the island. Quote, "This generous contribution arrives at a pivotal moment, providing immense support to our school community. By enhancing our learning environment, you have created a more comfortable and inspiring space for both students and staff to thrive. Your thoughtfulness and unwavering dedication to education will leave a lasting legacy in the lives of our learners. We are profoundly grateful for your partnership and investment in their future. Thank you for helping us create an atmosphere that nurtures growth, innovation, and excellence," unquote. WINN Foundation hopes the new furniture will create a more welcoming environment that encourages student interaction and engagement. Minister of Education Nevis, Troy Liburd, Principal Education Officer Londa Brown, and Deputy Principal Education Officer Juan Williams accepted the donations on Friday, January 10, 2025. WINN Foundation has cemented itself as a friend of the government and people of Nevis through several donations over the past 10 years, such as musical instruments and coaster buses.
In regional news, Guyana seeks more international help to fight drug trade, Guyana News Source reports.
A total of 6,000 kilograms of narcotics were seized last year by the authorities, with cocaine accounting for the majority. That's according to the Minister of Home Affairs, Robeson Banner. At a press conference, the Minister of Home Affairs explained that of the 6,000 kilograms of narcotics seized, cocaine accounted for more than 5,000 kilograms, while 1,643 kilograms of cannabis was seized. A large percentage of that cocaine was unearthed last September by the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit and the Special Forces of the Guyana Defense Force with the support of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency near an abandoned airstrip in Region 1. 4.4 tons of cocaine, which carried a street value of almost $200 million was found. The Home Affairs Minister said 2 persons were arrested locally as investigations into the major drug bust continues. He confirmed, however, that there were also arrests abroad.
There were a number of arrests overseas related to that one. I wouldn't say the country or the area right now, but there were a number of arrests made in relation to that matter.
In other drug-related matters, a number of persons have been prosecuted, the minister said, including foreign nationals.
The results so far we have seen arriving in the prisons, a number of persons who have been involved in relation to the question of cocaine and marijuana trafficking. I think a number of Brazilian pilots are in the facility.
A number of planes linked to the narco trade, which were found in most cases at abandoned and other illegal airstrips, have also been destroyed. The minister said as CANU and the Guyana Police Force continues the uphill task, Guyana requires the support of its international partners to tackle the issue of demand reduction.
And we'd like to get more support. While there's a lot of support in terms of training and information and visits and conferences, we would like to see more physical support. We would like to see support in relation to radar coverage. We'd like to see more support to the police and the CANU and related in relation to vehicles and planes and the other specialized testing equipment in relation to the question of drugs.
Minister Ben explained that the narco trade often includes guns and ammunition, and the authorities must be better equipped to take on the traffickers.
Our activism cannot be more helped unless we have the capability, in partnership with neighboring countries, to deny overflight, deny the passage of these submersible, semi-submersible vessels in the maritime sphere. And indeed, we do have, I think, one or two submersibles which were seized in the Northwest by the police.
The U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency and other international partners have been offering intelligence information. But Minister Ben said much more is required to combat the narco trade.
Guyana seeks more international help to fight drug trade. Royal Grenada Police Force ramps up border security in response to Trinidad and Tobago's state of emergency. Grenada Broadcasting Network has the details.
Assistant Commissioner of Police, ACP Vannie Kerwin, has assured the nation that proactive steps have been taken to safeguard Grenada's peace and stability. The state of emergency declared by Trinidad's Prime Minister Keith Rowley aims to address escalating crime in the Twin Island Republic.
We have heightened our border security and we have given certain mandates to some of our operational units so that they can be on the ready looking for certain things that we do expect would happen. Immigration, no doubt, will be key to all of that. That's a part of our border control. And we do have some other operational trust that I cannot speak to or do not want to speak to in details, but we are ready.
ACP Kerwin noted that with Grenada's porous borders, there is a need for vigilance to prevent criminal elements from Trinidad from seeking refuge in Grenada.
If there are people who do not belong to your community, you're not familiar with in your areas, there are suspicions that is raised, please reach out to us. We often say that RGPF alone cannot protect the bays and shores of Grenada, and so all Grenadians must play their part in ensuring that we take responsibility for our shared safety and our shared security.
This development comes amid growing regional concerns about the impact of crime and the movement of individuals across borders within the Caribbean. ACP Kerwin says the RGPF continues to strengthen its relations with its regional counterparts and organizations in the fight against crime in the region.
What happened in Trinidad may not only affect Grenada. We might be the closest neighbor to Trinidad, but it's going to spill off to all of the other islands, and so there has to be, a collaborative effort of the entire OECS RSS region to be able to thwart, whatever threats that is faced from Trinidad. So we are in touch at different levels. So those cooperation and collaboration have not ended, and they do not know common stream because of the Trinidad issue. Those are consistent. They are constant. I see futuristic engagements going on between our neighboring islands, and it's going to continue to be that way.
With heightened security and proactive measures in place, the RGPF is committed to keeping Grenada safe amidst concerns stemming from Trinidad and Tobago's state of emergency. Authorities are also calling on the public to play their part by remaining vigilant and reporting any suspicious activities. To make a report, dial 440-3921 for the Criminal Investigation Department, 444-1958 for the police hotline, 911, or contact the nearest police station. Reporting for GBN News, I'm Nisha Paul.
We now bring you these international reports.
A residential building in central Gaza hit by Israeli missiles. Mostly women and children staying in a Darj neighborhood were killed. Their bodies are carried through streets that offer no refuge from attacks. A grieving father cradles his lifeless daughter, his words breaking through the tears.
يا ولدي عليا يا حبيبتي يا امانه اجيب لي انجاصه والله رايح اجيب لك انجاصه والله رايح اجيب لك انجاصه يا روحي والله رايح اجيب لك انجاصه.
At Al-Aqsa Hospital, medical teams rush between casualties. Many are from recent Israeli strikes on a tent sheltering displaced Palestinians. A young girl in a red sweater who was pulled from the rubble shows signs of life. But for many others, help came too late.
We are all displaced civilians living in tents. We pose no danger to anybody. At about 12:30, the Israeli warplanes fired a missile on our tents without any warning. It was a huge missile.
We woke up in the heat of the night to huge explosions. Children were terrified. Many tents caught fire. We are living in despair, homeless in the winter, cold and starving. Our children have lost every sense of life.
Further south in Khan Yunis, the European hospital morgue receives more victims. Wrapped in plastic bags, they are casualties of overnight Israeli strikes on 2 houses. The bombardment continues relentlessly across Gaza Strip, from Jabalia in the north to Rafah in the south. These attacks come despite ceasefire negotiations that could bring long-awaited peace.
We ran to find our next-door building levelled. My brother's wife, his 40-day-old baby, was killed together with his 4-year-old daughter. We had hoped to wake up to good news on a ceasefire. Instead, it was to a tragedy.
As Israel's devastating war continues unabated across Gaza for displaced Palestinians seeking shelters from the offensive, every day brings more bombardment and no signs of letting up. Still, many hope that diplomatic efforts will lead to a lasting ceasefire, one that could end months of devastation and allow Palestinians to rebuild their shattered lives. Hani Mahmoud, Al Jazeera from Deir el-Balah City, Palestine.
Let's update you on what's happening in California with the fires. Strong winds are still forecast to return to LA, threatening to undermine the progress made against the wildfires. Forecasters are expecting gusts of more than 70 miles per hour. That's about the same force as a Category 1 hurricane. These are the same type of Santa Ana winds that caused the initial spread of the blazes last week. 3 major fires are still burning. The biggest one, the Palisades, has consumed more than 23,000 acres and is still only 14% contained. Let's bring you more with the BBC's Will Grant, who is there.
As the wildfires in Los Angeles enter their second week, they keep burning and the stories of destroyed lives stack up. Amid the ruins of his block, Michael Soto was incredibly fortunate. His home survived while his neighbours were left with nothing. Now he stands guard to protect what he still has from looters patrolling a devastated neighborhood.
I moved to this area, for my kids to have a better upbringing for them and for them to have a better future. It was a beautiful community, it was mixed, it was nice. Everyone, looked at each other, waved and all that, so it was just nice. I wanted my kids to have a better future for themselves. But, looks like we're going to have to start all over again and rebuild, come stronger.
The affluent suburb of Brentwood has so far avoided being razed to the ground with the same destructive force. But with the Santa Ana winds still a major factor, the residents aren't out of the woods yet.
As the blaze swept through here, the crews faced a huge task in trying to contain it. The aim now is to protect these vulnerable homes and communities that lie below the line. In essence, to make sure there are no smouldering embers that could kick up into the winds and spark fresh fires.
Meanwhile, help has arrived from across the border. Dozens of Mexican firefighters are in LA to help contain the fires and carry out the grim task of search and recovery of the victims. As neighbours, Mexico and California haven't always had the smoothest of relationships. But like all good friends, they simply turn up in the hour of greatest need.
Historically, Mexico has been a government and people of great solidarity. And this is a moment to build closer ties and to show that no border can separate us. When it comes to humanitarian assistance, there are no borders, and we are prepared to stay for as long as we're needed to help the American people.
With 9 people charged over looting, there's real nervousness among evacuated homeowners. So much so, the National Guard has now been deployed, setting up a command centre on the beachfront. This has been the toughest week which many in Los Angeles can remember. The scenes of destruction nothing short of apocalyptic. And even once the blazes are finally all contained, then the long and painful journey to rebuild begins.
A special prosecutor has concluded that President-elect Donald Trump engaged in, quote, an unprecedented criminal effort to hold on to power after losing re-election 4 years ago. The report by special counsel Jack Smith, released on Tuesday, concluded there would have been enough evidence to convict Trump at trial. But Smith was thwarted in doing so after Trump's election victory in 2024 made that impossible. Trump had pleaded not guilty to all the charges and called the prosecution a politically motivated witch hunt. Following the release of Tuesday's report, Trump wrote on social media that Smith was, quote, deranged and a, quote, lame-brain prosecutor. Smith, who has faced relentless criticism from Trump, defended his investigation and the prosecutors who worked on it. In a letter detailing the report, Smith wrote, quote, the claim from Mr. Trump that my decisions as a prosecutor were influenced or directed by the Biden administration or other political actors is, in a word, laughable.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding.
The indictment initially charged Trump with orchestrating a wide-ranging conspiracy to subvert the results of the 2020 election.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
He was criminally charged with conspiring to obstruct the election certification, defraud the United States of accurate election results, and deprive U.S. voters of their voting rights. Much of the evidence cited in Tuesday's report has been previously made public in charging documents. A second section of the report details Smith's case accusing Trump of illegally retaining sensitive national security documents after leaving the White House in 2021. The Justice Department has committed not to make that portion public, while legal proceedings continue against 2 Trump associates charged in the case. Smith, who left the Justice Department last week, dropped both cases after Trump won last year's election, citing a long-standing Justice Department policy against prosecuting a sitting president. Neither reached a trial. Donald Trump last week officially became a felon following his criminal conviction for paying hush money to a porn star. He pleaded not guilty at trial and avoided jail time. He is the first sitting or former president to be convicted of a crime.
The Princess of Wales has revealed that she is finally in remission a year after doctors discovered she had cancer. So let's talk to our royal correspondent, Sean Coughlin, who's here in the studio with me. And Sean, this is the first time we've actually had that confirmation, isn't it, that she is now in remission?
That's right. It's the first time we've heard the word remission used. And it's probably the biggest update on her health since the autumn. We learnt then that her chemotherapy had been completed, but now, after she visited the hospital where she'd been treated, we heard today that she is in remission.
In terms of these pictures that we saw there at the Royal Marsden, she met with staff, she met with patients, and detailed too, within all of that, that she will be a patron, continuing with a lot of the research, the work that they've been carrying out.
That's right. I mean, she clearly is very involved in the subject now, and in the conversations with patients today, she clearly is emotionally very connected with the subject, and she talked to people about her own tough times with chemotherapy, and also sort of, I think, possibly used her own personal experience to empathise with people about the emotional pressure facing families and people who are undergoing cancer treatment. So it is, I think, something we'll see in the future as a big commitment from her.
Yes, it was interesting you talking about the emotional aspect of all of this, because in her statement there were a couple of lines that gave you just a little glimpse of that, where she talked about and thanking staff for walking quietly alongside William and me as we've navigated everything. And she talked later about being involved with the Royal Marsden, and one of the things I talked about research that she wants to help to promote, but also talking about family well-being.
That's right. And she also is very important to the royal family as an institution, as well as a mother and a wife. I think she has star quality, and I think that her return, what appears to be a gradual return and positive news about her health, will be very important to the wider royal family.
Yeah, she talks about adjusting to a new normal, but exactly on what you were just saying there, she plans to have a fulfilling year ahead. So it is a gradual return, but bit by bit, we are likely to see more of the princess in 2025, aren't we?
I think almost certainly, yes. I mean, last year we saw little of her. She began the year with her abdominal surgery, and then later we discovered about her cancer diagnosis too. So it has been a very difficult year for them. And she has made a few appearances gradually towards the end of the year, such as her carol service at Christmas. We saw her there. But now it suggests that perhaps we're going to see a lot more from her. And it'll be interesting to see how much the experience of cancer might have changed how she performs her duties, because lots of her messages more recently have been very emotive and very much about love and empathy and sharing, understanding. And they have a certain, I think, a different quality from perhaps what we saw before. So it'll be interesting to see whether there are long-term consequences when she recovers and returns fully to duties.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were:
tributes pour in to honor the life of Lady Sheila Daniel, wife of national hero Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel.
Energy Minister says government still committed to 2030 100% renewable energy goal. Government officials continue education campaign on new BBW initiative.
Winsong Foundation enhances education in Nevis with a school furniture donation.
Guyana seeks more international help to fight drug trade. Royal Grenada Police Force ramps up border security in response to Trinidad and Tobago's state of emergency. Internationally, U.S. Prosecutor Jack Smith defends a criminal case against President-elect Donald Trump.
Thank you for listening.